Imagine you are driving a car on an endless empty highway. You locked the steering wheel straight 40 years ago. No hands on the wheel. No brakes. No wind. No road changes. Just motion through nothing. And then, without warning, the car turns. Not a drift. Not a mechanical fault. A deliberate shift. It angles itself toward a dark, unmarked stretch of desert and stops, as if it has decided to wait. That sounds impossible. But something very similar is happening right now. 15 billion kilometers away from Earth. NASA has confirmed that Voyager 1, humanity's most distant spacecraft, is sending usable data again. But what's arriving through the deep space network is not routine telemetry. It's structured. Repeating. Patterned in a way that doesn't resemble normal space noise. And more unsettling than the data itself, is what preceded it. For months, Voyager 1 was unstable. Then silent. Then suddenly active again. And when it returned, it didn't behave like a damaged machine recovering from age. It behaved like something had interacted with it. Voyager 1 is not intelligent. It has no awareness, no reasoning system, no modern AI. It is a relic built in 1977, powered by fading plutonium, with computing power weaker than a basic calculator today. Its purpose was simple: travel outward, collect data, and transmit it home. It was never meant to adapt. And yet it did. After decades of drifting through interstellar space, the region beyond the Sun's protective bubble called the heliosphere, Voyager 1 crossed into an environment where no human-made object had ever survived for this long. Out there, there is no solar wind shaping space. No planetary magnetic fields guiding motion. Only sparse plasma, radiation, and the faint structure of the galaxy itself. For over 40 years, everything was predictable: weak signals, gradual decay, steady loss of power. Then something changed. The first anomaly appeared as distortion in the transmission. Engineers initially blamed radiation interference or aging hardware. That would have been normal. But then Voyager triggered its own fault protection systems. These systems are designed for emergencies, extreme rotation, critical system failure, loss of control. But in this case, no trigger was visible. No command was sent from Earth. No collision occurred. Yet Voyager reacted as if something had struck it. Telemetry became inconsistent. Timestamps drifted. Internal logs corrupted. It was as if the spacecraft had experienced an event that couldn't be recorded properly. Not a failure. A disruption. And then came the moment that changed everything. Voyager 1 rotated. No thrusters fired. No propulsion system engaged. And yet, its high-gain antenna, normally locked permanently toward Earth, shifted. Not randomly. Not slightly. It pointed toward an empty region of space where nothing notable exists in any known astronomical catalog. NASA engineers ran every possible explanation: software corruption, thermal stress, gravitational torque, solar radiation pressure. All failed. The gyroscopes confirmed something undeniable. A physical rotation had occurred without an applied mechanical cause. That alone would have been enough to rewrite assumptions about spacecraft behavior. But what came next was worse. Once aligned in that direction, Voyager stopped behaving like a passive probe. It began receiving something. A signal appeared in the plasma wave subsystem. At first it looked like background noise, static, irregular and faint. But as analysts processed the waveform, a structure emerged. It wasn't random. It had rhythm. A steady oscillation near 30,000 Hz, repeating in clean intervals. Engineers began calling it the plasma hum. But hums in space are never that clean. Natural plasma turbulence is chaotic, fragmented, unpredictable. This signal had spacing, repetition, and symmetry. It resembled a constructed waveform more than a physical phenomenon. Even more disturbing, within the waveform were embedded patterns. Not data like temperature or velocity, but structured sequences, hex-like encoding, recursive numerical chains, and repeating fractal arrangements. Some of the constants matched known physical values, but with precision beyond Voyager's original instruments. It was as if the spacecraft was no longer just measuring space. It was being used as part of something else measuring back. At the same time, Earth-based observatories pointed deep field instruments toward the region Voyager was facing. Initially, nothing unusual appeared. Then faint infrared structures emerged. A low-intensity glow. Not a star. Not a galaxy. Not a nebula. A halo-like distortion barely above detection threshold. And it responded. Every solar flare from the sun seemed to correlate with a subtle fluctuation in the halo's brightness. Not instant reflection, delayed, structured response. As if it was observing solar activity and reacting. Meanwhile, Voyager 1 briefly went silent. 12 hours of total blackout. No transmission. No telemetry. No carrier signal. For a spacecraft that has survived nearly half a century of radiation, that level of silence is unprecedented. Then it returned. But something had changed. Internal clocks were misaligned. Timestamps no longer matched Earth reference systems. Some logs appeared reset. Others missing entirely. It was as if Voyager had passed through a region where time behaved differently, or stopped being consistent. And then came the deeper analysis. Scientists compared Voyager's trajectory with cosmic microwave background maps, the oldest radiation in the universe. Inside that ancient data, they found something unexpected, a structured distortion aligned precisely with Voyager's current path. A ripple in the background of the universe. And the most unsettling part? The ripple existed in historical datasets as well. Planck-era surveys. WMAP observations. Early background reconstructions. It had always been there. Which implies something impossible. Whatever Voyager is encountering, was already written into the structure of the universe long before Voyager existed. The data Voyager transmitted back was too complex for classical computing systems. So researchers used quantum processors to decode it. What they found did not resemble random information. It resembled language. Not human language, but logical structure built from recursion, symmetry, and probability collapse patterns. And at the center of the decoded output, a single line appeared. "Are you ready to listen?" Below it, a persistent tone remained embedded in the dataset. A perfect 30,000 Hz oscillation. Stable. Continuous. Intentional. Engineers stopped calling it interference. They began calling it interaction. Because every anomaly shared the same characteristics, it responded to Voyager's position. It mirrored Voyager's transmission timing. It synchronized with Earth's observation attempts. And most importantly, it behaved as if Voyager was not alone. Not drifting. Not lost. But engaged in something. NASA's public explanation remains cautious: field interaction, plasma irregularities, deep space noise structures. But internally, the language is more careful. More restrained. Because the data suggests something no one wants to state directly. Voyager the 1st of may have crossed into an active region of structured intelligence, Not biological, not mechanical in the traditional sense, but something embedded in the environment of interstellar space itself. Something that does not move like an object, but responds like awareness. And now the hardest question remains unanswered. Did Voyager find it, or did it notice Voyager arriving? Because if a silent probe, launched in 1977, drifting for decades through darkness, can suddenly be redirected, synchronized, and answered, then the real mystery is not what Voyager encountered. It is what was waiting long before we ever sent it.